Welcome everybody to Rookhtown, a very new series of City Skylines here on my channel. And this series will mark a very new attempt and a very new challenge for me, because this city is being located somewhere around the change of centuries, about the 19th and 20th century. So it's located somewhere at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century, with you know, being on the road to the two world wars and making really a big mark in the Industrial Revolution. This is a really challenging thing to achieve in City Skylines, because obviously the game is designed to work in a modern time. The good thing though is that the people on the workshop have been creating so many beautiful assets that I found after months of researching and months of collecting suitable assets. I am ready to take this challenge, and I am ready to try this attempt. So in comparison to my last series in City Skylines, which all didn't really work out the way I wanted it, but you know, they haven't been a problem, or they haven't been bad at all. They were pretty good, at least in terms of me getting better in the game and me understanding better what's going on and what's happening in the game. So they really were a lot like a big help in terms of what I'm creating right now in this series. And I really hope that finally this series can, you know, be a kickoff for me to really get into City Skylines, into the community, into really creating the best way I can, and really making the most of these wonderful tools the game and also the community with all the mods gives us. And I'm really thankful for finally getting my hands on this game again. I was struggling quite a bit to find really suitable assets and suitable stuff in the first place, but you know, after quite a long time of researching and quite a long time of me getting ready with everything, I am pretty confident that this is going to be kicking off really nicely. And I have to admit, in comparison to my last series, I didn't record like the first 10-ish episodes or whatever. I think I've got 3 episodes prepared, which will be always dropping on a Saturday. So you can already put that in your calendar if you like this idea about City Skylines and if you like this attempt on making a city that is somewhere located in the beginning of this century, or well, of the latest century I should say. We are already in the 21st century, holy shit. Well, already 19 years in, and me calling it already, holy crap, I'm old. Anyways, this map I'm using is done by Mr. Miyagi, and he's created a map called Steeltown. I really love this map. I was about to create a map my own, but I have to be honest to my own, or to myself I should say. I am quite okay when it comes to modeling maps, and I think I could be really good if I would spend many more hours in, you know, getting more used to the terrain tool and stuff. The problem is that I'm so much used to the Planet Coaster terrain tool that it takes me a long time to understand how I really use this terrain tool here in City Skylines, which is also a very powerful tool, but there are a few things lacking to really get my creativity into it, and I was struggling quite a bit preparing it. And so I thought, okay, there is no real reason for not taking a wonderful map of the workshop, because you know, this one is a great map. This is a really great map, and it really fits. I mean, Steeltown is already by its name, it already shows what the whole thing is going to be in the future, and it really shaped up this way, and I really have to say the map exactly delivers what I wanted. I'm also playing a little bit around with obviously Ultimate Eye Candy and all these kind of little mods that enhance the look and feel of the overall map and the overall appearance of the game. So I'm trying to make this all a little bit more sepia looking, if that makes sense to you, to make it really this like ancient look to it. I'm also trying to make this all look as polluted and as dirty as possible in the end. So you might have seen this in the little teaser video I posted on Thursday last week, that this is going to be really a polluted area. And obviously, not only that my idea was to create this, I've been hugely influenced obviously by the Anno 1800 game, which is also, you know, Anno 1800 is obviously located way earlier than this city would be. Reason being is that there is only so much of a chance to go back as the game assets allow you to, and no matter how hard I tried, I didn't find enough vehicles, and basically vehicles are the main issue about this series in the end, I can already tell. So the illusion is definitely going to be spoiled by wrong vehicles driving around. So obviously I am using the advanced vehicle options mod, which allows me to choose which kind of vehicles I'm using in the game. The problem is that there are no great very old vehicles. So obviously there are some old assets like old trains, steam trains and stuff like that. There are also some old cars, but the problem is that many of the cars that are necessary to make sure that the city is running are not yet transformed into an old one. So we do have some old buses, obviously. We do have some old trains, we do have some old cargo trucks, but that's about it. So we don't have any, you know, hospital, like there's no such a thing than like a rescue. How they called? Oh gosh, I completely forgot the name of this car that is going to get you once you need to go to the hospital. The rescue truck? No, that's it. That's not the word. Anyhow, there is basically a word that yeah, is the suitable one for this. I can't really remember that right now. Anyhow, also police. Well, I found a nice old police car, but as I said, if it would be around the late 18th century and the early 19th century, the cars would look completely different. So we have to, you know, we do have to get into a little bit of a compromise here, and I think we have to make the whole time frame a little bit wider, a little bit longer. So maybe we are even going into the, you know, mid 40s, maybe even mid 50s of the 19th century, but trying to make the city look as you know, early 20th century as possible, I guess. This is really what we need to aim for. It's kind of hard, but I think it's I haven't seen too much of this kind of stuff in the workshop yet, so this is really, I wanted to try and get my hands onto something I haven't seen that often, but that really gives me a challenge. And also this is going to be a somewhat reasonable sized city, so it's really a town, it's not going to be a city. And this is also why I chose this as my first, hopefully, main series I'm going to end at some point. I do have some more creative ideas about City Skylines, some of which will definitely work and some of which I have already tested without recording it. This is something for the future. I really want to make sure that I do understand the game a little bit better in terms of getting a process in and getting my hands on. But as you can see now, after talking about the main idea about this whole thing, here's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm building this little oh, actually this is the main and central station of our Rookhtown in the end. So I'm really trying to make sure that this area, this kind of a train station area is for once a cargo area, but also will be the center of our transportation system in the end. So we do make sure, we do have to make sure that there are a lot of different railroads crossing and a lot of different lines coming into and getting out of the train station. I downloaded these lovely custom railroad assets from the workshop. I can't remember who made them, but there is this one issue, and I figured that Strictoaster had these issues lately as well in his Nidal town. There is a problem about the connection piece. As you can see on the top right of the screen right now, well, now it's gone, but there is a little bit of a blue space or a blue area in between the two railroad pieces. So for once, this is really ugly looking, but it's also creating a very strange looking ground in between. So I'm really trying to fix that somehow. I haven't found a real proper fix right now. Maybe I'm going to use some procedural objects to make sure to kind of, you know, hide this. I think I will try in this episode as well. You will see in a few bits and seconds. I don't know what I'm talking about. In a few seconds that I'm trying to hide this somehow. It didn't really work out the way I hoped it would, but I'm pretty confident that in the future we will be able to, you know, somehow make this better looking. I have no real idea, or I have no real clue why this happened the way it happened, since it felt a little bit off. I tried to make the connection somewhere else because I was fearing it was only the connection into the train station piece, but it's not. It doesn't really matter if I move it further out or not. I saw how Strict Toaster solved that issue, but I couldn't come up with the same solution. It didn't really work for me. So this is recorded, by the way before I have seen the video of Nidal. This is recorded even back in 2018. So yeah, there's quite a bit of time already gone into this project. As I said, I haven't been moving that far into the actual building process because this is where I want you to get in. I really want to make this an interactive, also kind of history lesson, nearly. I really want to make sure that we are as accurate as possible in terms of how cities would look like in the much described time frame or time period we are talking about right now. And I'm really willing also to get your feedback in about how you would design certain areas. So what we definitely will have in the next episode is the first industrial area with a lot of factories, with a lot of very much high industry stuff. And then we will also have another third episode in 2 weeks time. I can already tell you because these are pretty much recorded and pre-recorded, and this is where I can't get any feedback in, but after this I'm already able to put some feedback in. And so we will have the fourth episode will be featuring a zoo. I've found a lot of things about a zoo, so maybe we're gonna talk about a zoo, how this was at the beginning of the 20th century, because I feel like the zoo always had a big influence. As you can also see in the Anno games, it really had a big influence. It was really an event to go to the zoo, and I really want to make sure that this is also featured in this series. But as you can see, I'm already trying to make this area as dirty and as rough as possible, because this is really what it looked like in these times. It was really a focus on all these factories. Chimneys were basically creating the visual skyline of the city. So I'm also trying to put in as many chimneys as possible. I'm trying to put in as many of these excavation towers. Are they called like that? I believe they are, but I'm not too sure about that. As you can also see in the Ruhrgebiet, obviously there are some really great assets made for a Ruhrgebiets map, which is, for those of you who don't know, this is the western area of Germany, where a lot of the car coal and coal production has been done in the past. It's even a UNESCO spot by now, really an area that is historically relevant. So yeah, it's pretty well known in the world, at least if you're into industry and history. So it was about obvious that, you know, pieces from this project will be helpful. However, these pieces are meant to be in a modern area, so they are just to a certain extent really helpful for our project here. So I'm really trying to mix as much as possible. Here you can see, by the way, this is the attempt to hide these ugly areas in here. Maybe you guys can come up with an easier fix than I'm doing right now. That would be awesome, because I'm pretty sure that some of you, and hopefully there are some new people now tuning in to this channel, and if so, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can always follow this project. That would be awesome, because I will need help in the future. I will need some of your input to make sure that I'm going the right direction. And yeah, also in terms of city layouts, I've googled a lot of images from early 20th century cities and late 19th century cities, which is, you know, there is like around the center we already have a pretty dense city, but the kind of satellite area of the cities are well less urbanized than they are today. And I think this is one of the main features, that also factories and stuff are much closer to the cities, because effectively the area you needed to build them was way closer to the cities than it would be today, since today there is a lot more urban area with a lot of residentials, whereas in the time back then many people still lived on the countryside and were only going to the cities for like transportation, big, you know, stuff like that. And obviously the factories needed to be closer to the cities and the main transportation hubs than they need to be today. Like, there was no big factory. Actually, well, there were two basic things. The first one was either the company wasn't big enough to afford building an own railroad station, or you were big enough and you essentially created your transportation hub yourself, and that, you know, enabled you to really be close to the natural resources. So either way, you went to the transportation resources, which would be close to the main city center, or you just went to build your own in the area that you needed. And this is what we are going to lay out now, but this is for the next episode already. So I say thanks for tuning in. I hope you liked it. As always, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you liked it. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next episode of City Skylines. Until then, have a great day.